Welcome to Season 4 of Ecommerce Fastlane. This podcast helps resilient entrepreneurs thrive with Shopify. And now on to episode 161.
You're listening to Ecommerce Fastlane, the podcast show to help you build, manage, grow, and scale a successful and thriving company, powered by Shopify. Listen to real conversations with partners and subject matter experts as they share proven practical strategies, platforms, and the best Shopify apps to help you accelerate your business. The time is now for you to improve efficiencies, grow revenue, profit, and lifetime customer loyalty. Please welcome your host, startup founder, and strategic advisor, Steve Hutt.
Today's episode is brought to you by our good friends at Vicely. Do you want to maximize the value of each visit to your store, both for the business and for the site visitor? Of course you do. Then look no further than Vicely, a flexible personalization and search solution for your Shopify business. Hundreds of Shopify merchants at every stage of their business lifecycle trust Vicely, from businesses that are just starting out to established brands with 9 figures in annual sales. With Vicely, you will build a tailored user experience by adding personalized product touchpoints at every stage of the visitor journey on your Shopify store. Vicely's enterprise-grade tools like one-on-one, real-time personalization, A/B testing, predictive search, dynamic filters, and merchandising will ensure that your store visitors see the right products at the right time, which will boost critical metrics such as average order value and conversion rate. With Vicely's post-purchase and email recommendations, you will also drive repeat visits and sales by turning one-time buyers into repeat customers, which increases your lifetime value and your brand loyalty all in the same process. You can also get access to Vicely's best-in-class white glove support and customization services. Use their pre-built and custom widgets, search results, collection filters, and pages. Everything works together as far to building your brand experience perfectly. And all of this with blazingly fast response times too. So don't leave revenue on the table and don't waste the opportunity to convert visitors into loyal customers. Start today and find out how much Vicely will benefit your Shopify business. Head on over to vicely.io or search for Vicely in the Shopify App Store to begin your 14-day free trial. No credit card required. Well, hey there, it's Steve, and welcome back to the Ecommerce Fastlane podcast. Now, this is your first time listening. This is an e-commerce show where we have honest and transparent conversations about building and thriving with your store, powered by Shopify or Shopify Plus. If you're an ambitious, lifelong learner, then you're definitely in the right place today. New episodes are available twice weekly with your favorite podcast players like Apple Podcast, Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify, and many more. You can also stream current episodes, including a very relevant back catalog, directly from ecommercefastlane.com. Now, in today's episode, my guest is Liz, who's the co-founder and CEO of a company called Soona. That's SOONA.co. And they're a content creation engine that helps Shopify brands to create professional photos and videos for e-commerce stores, landing pages, and social ads. So there's anything to do with visual marketing, they have a platform that can help you. It's a great conversation. There's a ton of learnings on how you can use visual content really as a superpower to help grow and scale your Shopify business. So hi, Liz. Welcome to Ecommerce Fastlane.
Thank you so much for having me, Steve. I'm excited to be here.
Well, my pleasure. Thank you for syncing your calendar. I know we're in challenging times right now, but I think that's one of the powers that I would talk about with your platform. And it really is assisting brands that are still kind of in semi-lockdown mode. I'm hoping to go down that journey a bit to talk about your product and some specific things about why it's really come to market based on what's happening with the pandemic and stuff. I know things are opening, but I also believe there's been a real big benefit to Shopify brands that have access to your platform. So let's dig into it a little bit more on a high level first. Because I may have butchered it at the beginning of the show, but what does Soona do and what sort of problems are you solving for Shopify store owners?
Yeah, absolutely. We are solving the problem of creating professional, polished photos and videos to show off your products and then sell them in your e-commerce store. And the way that we do that is through something we call the virtual photo shoot experience. So the way that it works is that you install our app on your Shopify store. You use our self-service software to tell us a little bit about the kind of content you need to create. So sometimes you might just need some product on white images, but other times maybe you're looking for some lifestyle images, or perhaps you need some video clips that show how your product works, or an unboxing video to really reveal to your customers how special it is to receive your product. Once you've made that booking online, you ship us your product. And then we invite you to join a photo shoot online in the application where you're able to see every single photo and video clip within seconds of it being created by our crew. And you collaborate with the crew online in a chat, just like you do when you're slacking with someone in your job right now. You can say things like, hey, I love the way that this composition is, but could we change the background color? Or could we add more flowers to this shot? And the crew will actually do that for you in real time, make those changes so you can see the assets change right there before your eyes. And the best part is you only have to purchase the content you truly need and love. So you pay $39 for each photo, you pay $93 for each video clip, and we deliver them in 24 hours to be used in your Shopify store. No downloading, no resizing, no crazy processes of uploading and trying to figure out where it goes. You simply connect it to the products that you already have in your Shopify store and start seeing hopefully amazing results from having beautiful, compelling content.
One thing I love is the collaboration factor that comes with your tool, because I think the challenge, and a lot of people listening today have probably gone down this journey where they've hired someone for content production. And even if it was a content creator, an influencer, kind of a brand ambassador type, it's interesting is that a lot of times you don't have any creative control around what's actually being produced. And you're forced into a certain kind of a contract and saying, hey, we're going to supply all of this sort of content to you. But the reality is, you weren't there every step of the way. I understand you can send all the products to you. I understand how you buy your first video or you buy your first image, and that's the starting point of getting things rolling and creating. It really is quite amazing. I just love the fact that in real time, once the products have arrived, I believe, in your location, then you have the opportunity at that point to pick the date and time when the actual photo shoot and production is actually happening in real time, and then be able to chat with people and seeing the images that are actually being created. It really feels like you're actually part of the production, and you actually really are paying for what you envision, not just what you believe the photographer who's great at what they're doing as a craft, but they may not know the brand story as well, or the mood board that may go along with it. So it's quite interesting how you do it.
Yeah, we're really proud of our technology because so much of what we've seen in the ecosystem to date is really kind of a black box. Like you mentioned, maybe you send your product to an influencer, but you don't know what you're going to get back. And every single one of our customers is the expert in their product. And I think there's something really synergistic that happens when you bring together technology as a bridge to people who are artistically talented and people who are strategically talented. And we like to believe that our customers truly are the experts on what is going to sell, what is going to make them effective, but our creatives are the experts in helping them take it to that next level and bringing it to life. And that collaboration is so fun. One of the number one things we see in our surveys after customers try a photo shoot with Sina is that it was the most fun part of their day. And that's because you're getting to see it come to life right before your eyes.
Yeah, it seems exciting. It's really, really cool. I watched a few videos and stuff like that, and I did some kind of internal research before recording today. And it's pretty neat, kind of how people are executing with your platform. So let's make a slight pivot over to, I guess, your background. I'm always fascinated why people build what they build. I mean, it's much more than just, hey, I want a service business or a SaaS business and I want recurring revenue and these sorts of things. I think it's more than just kind of the money side of it. I really think there's a larger kind of a mindset and around why people build product, especially in the Shopify ecosystem. So are you able to talk a little bit about your journey and, why you believe your platform and just your education and just history, uniquely positions you, I guess, on a couple of points to have the desire and then the expertise to want to create this platform?
I grew up in a small family-owned business. I really believe in the power of small businesses and for even medium-sized businesses to have a massive impact on not only their customers, but the communities that are around them. And honestly, we see this so much in the e-commerce ecosystem. It's a vibrant, active community that is supporting each other and being successful. And so before starting Stuna, I actually had a production company for 7 years that focused on making professional quality, commercial quality internet ads. But our customers were largely enterprise customers. I worked with the biggest customers in the world, brands like Target and Facebook and Microsoft. And while I was really proud of that work and while I really valued working with those customers, after doing that for 7 years, I looked at my co-founder and I said, I really feel called to bring professional quality content to small and medium-sized businesses. We see that this powerful content can make a totally different, what we call photographic first impression for businesses. When someone lands on your e-commerce store, the quality of those photos can be up to 90% of their decision making. And yet for many brands, they've been locked out of the talent and the tools that make it possible for them to get that competitive content. And so we actually decided to sell my first business 2 years ago to go completely headfirst into serving small and medium-sized e-commerce businesses to really help them punch above their weight class and create content that would be effective across their stores, across their social media, across their email, all the places where you're communicating with customers online and where visuals can truly deliver results.
Yeah, I love that. There are, as of today's recording, there's, over 1.7 million small businesses and mid-sized and enterprise companies that are on the Shopify platform. And so there's and it's a massively growing business. If you listen to any of the quarterly income reports or the quarterly financials, it's quite interesting. Some of the feedback that we're getting about, wanting to build a path that leads to more entrepreneurship. And Harley, president of the company, has been really clear saying that he believes that's one of the reasons why brands are just the economy in general is doing well is because of small businesses. It really is. Yes, a lot of businesses were closed because of COVID, but on the flip side, there's a lot of businesses that have been started from within the pandemic, and it continues to grow and scale, just the Shopify business, because we're empowering entrepreneurship. And it sounds like what you're doing, and I love the word when you talked about the photographic first impression, because I think that's an amazing language to say that sort of thing, because there's lots of tools and different kind of guides and video and tutorials about how do you, buy a camera and get a light box. And there's lots of things where you can kind of DIY it yourself. And maybe to get proof of concept on your Shopify brand, that's a good starting point. But I think as you really want to start differentiating yourselves, and we'll talk, I'm sure, about the power of video in a few minutes and GIFs. And it's so interesting because I think there's some really unique ways of creating some engaging, high quality content, but very cost efficiently, instead of saying, well, I'm going to be completely cheap and do it all myself. Okay, do that on the early stage to get product market fit. But once you're kind of moving your way along your entrepreneurial journey with your store, it's time to say, well, how can I differentiate myself to competitors in the same marketplace? Because it's a noisy web out there. There's lots of competition. This sounds like a very unique way of differentiating with GIF or with video, but in high quality also.
Absolutely. What I always see with our brands is we'll meet a brand when they are maybe 3 or 4 SKUs. They're just getting started with their Shopify store. They've maybe sold a few hundred units. And now they're starting to think about, how do I actually start telling the story of what my product does? And this is where visuals become such an important part of that backbone, because while you may have DIY to get to a certain point, when you can bring in that expert that can help you see, well, actually, if we do an unboxing video where we show the assembly of your product, or if we take your cosmetics product and show a quick use case scenario, we can actually invite your customer to imagine themselves in your story, to imagine themselves using the product. Sometimes I think we've defaulted to this idea that, well, if I just have a good product on white image, people will get it. But you're actually asking them to fill in a lot of blanks that don't come naturally. Remember when we used to go to the mall as teenagers and you'd walk through the cosmetics section and you'd spray the colognes on the little pieces of paper and you'd have this immersive experience, or you'd walk into a fitting room and you'd try something on? I have described this as, how can your e-commerce store have that magical try-on moment? And those magical try-on moments can happen through a series of powerful images. They can happen through a great video that expresses something about how your product is used, or even just a simple GIF that stitches together 3 or 4 shots in a way that shows action and shows engagement. Those are the things we're trying to compete with now and even reinvent in our e-commerce world.
So let's talk about the connection to Shopify. I know you can go to suna.co, you can go to the website and learn more about your platform, but what's great is having a public app available in the App Store, and we'll give some links a little later on in this episode and into the show notes. But I just would love to understand, I guess, some of the specific details about how Suna and the Shopify App Store, and then a merchant that's listening today, if they choose to download this thing, like, what are they going to find and how does this thing work?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the Shopify App Store is a clear and obvious decision for us for 2 key reasons. The first is that Shopify presents merchants the amazing ability to use templates to create beautiful stores. And so often there's these epic images in those templates, but that's not your product. And so we wanted to create the pathway to getting those epic images, create that pathway again to create that photographic first impression of your product. And so to us, it seemed like a completely obvious place for us to invest in developing an application to really give brands the ability to make that homepage sing, make those product listing pages really stand out. But the second thing that's really special about our Shopify application is it actually allows you as a brand to really set it and forget it in a certain way. Suna's platform allows you to use our self-service tools to create a shoot all your own, but we also occasionally release things that we call Trendsets, which are seasonal and data-based offerings of types of images we're recommending at a particular point in time based on the data that we're seeing with our merchants. And so, for example, we have a summer series coming out that will show off products in a variety of settings that might help you to tell a more summary story. We have a Pride trend set coming up here in June. So if you have a brand that has a lot of customers in the LGBTQ community, you can actually update your images for that audience. And of course, we're looking at the data. And so we have something called video trend sets that help brands that maybe have never quite dipped their toe in video get started with things that we've seen be a proven effective on different types of Shopify stores. And so that's really where that immersion between Suna and Shopify makes so much sense, is when you're trying to think about, how do I change things up? How do I keep it fresh? But how do I always make my product at the center? We take that pressure off you and make recommendations that we think will help you make those decisions quickly and affordably.
And so the proactive part, when we're talking about the video trend sets and you're kind of giving some ideas, it could be very seasonal, you mentioned. So there's, the Father's Day, there could be a Mother's Day. There's all different types of seasonality and things. So I think that's interesting. Is this more of a proactive approach where once you become a Suna customer, then are you giving some kind of push notifications from within the app to saying, hey, just so you know, Father's Day is around the corner, and we think that maybe based on what our data shows that you may want to consider, since your products maybe haven't changed, but maybe a different kind of background or different kind of promotional things that you may want to, just nudge people along in the right direction. Just curious is kind of like how you position this kind of proactive or these trends that come along on your platform.
That's exactly right. Once your product has been shipped to our location, we're able then to really quickly spin up a new photo shoot for you. And so when you get that notification, in fact, everybody just got a bunch of notifications this morning about our Pride trend set. So the Pride trend set was just announced this morning. And so getting that notification of, hey, your product's already here, let's drop it in the Pride trend set and let's get you started with some really epic new images. These are the things that make your brand feel fresh. And remember, it isn't just about what's happening in your store either. What we want to be your partner in is helping you create traffic and attention to that store. And so we really support the ecosystem of channels that are around your store as well. The Pride Trendset is a perfect example of how you're going to want something on your Instagram. You're going to want something on Facebook that is going to communicate to your audiences and your community about the content, about the themes, about the things that we're all sharing as a collective. And then hopefully drive traffic back to the store to deliver what I like to call click to cart magic, right? That moment when I see your product on Instagram, I remember how much I love it. I get to the store, I click to cart, and it's a magical moment where all your channels have worked together to create urgency and frankly, just desire to buy.
I love it. I'm scribbling down so many, some great takeaways today. I love the click to cart magic. I think that's fantastic. I feel that you are building a platform really, it's almost like a partnership with a brand saying, hey, yes, you can send your products to us. And yes, you can get involved live and make sure that we curate and we create the best images and video and GIFs that are perfect for your brand and in the vision that you have as the brand owner. But I also just love the proactiveness, like you said, based on seasonality and different type of events. I think it's phenomenal. I wonder about your business as it relates to the pandemic. Like I know we're in this kind of opening up phase. Those that are choosing vaccines, it's kind of allowing some opportunity for, both traditional retail and locations, just kind of opening up, travel, all these types of things. But I'm wondering what happened with your business during the pandemic, like in the thick of it during 2020, even in the early parts of 21. I'm just curious if you felt that it was timely and it's allowing the business to thrive further because maybe some traditional places are closed. Just would love to have your framework around that or your opinion around that.
One of the things that the pandemic really showed all of us is that we can work differently. We can collaborate differently. And while Suna was a little bit ahead of our time in terms of creating a virtualized shoot experience, what we knew even before the words pandemic and COVID-19 was even part of our vocabulary was that every single product doesn't require a full multi-$1,000 photo shoot. That business today was going to require more nimble production practices, more affordable production practices. And it just so happened that our path to creating that was through the virtual photo shoot. What I think we discovered through this last year, however, is that brands really needed an invitation to try something new. And by working differently, by challenging our own expectations, it actually generated a little bit of an invitation to try Suna. Our business grew 400% last year. It was a wild year for our company, but it was also really exciting because what it allowed us to see is that whether you're a small and new brand that just got started in the pandemic, you could create photos that were just as effective and just as powerful as brands like Lola Tampons, which is an amazing customer of Suna's, or The Sill, which is an amazing direct-to-consumer plant company. And to understand that you're using the same tools as brands like that, you're getting the same kind of content, and you're having that same access to quality, it really did feel like the playing fields got a little more even, and we all have a chance to really stand out online. And I think that's what Shopify did too. I mean, in the early days, Shopify created that pathway, and we're truly trying to do the same thing with Suna as it pertains to your visual economy at your business.
I've been doing a lot of reading kind of before we recorded today, and one concept that comes up quite a bit is this content treadmill and just how brands and consumers, it seems like they're almost demanding it. It almost feels like when you produce some content, and it's good for you guys if this is the trend, because it seems like that's the only way to differentiate yourself. It's not just produce one thing and your products don't change for the full year. Let's say you're not a seasonal product. You have it, the packaging doesn't change, and you do a photo shoot and then you're done with it. I think the challenge there is that, there tends to be some banner blindness. There can be ad blindness after a while just because it's not fresh and exciting. And I think the whole idea of this content treadmill is it's so interesting to me. I just would like to hear your take on it just because you're deep into this. Like, why do brands need more content? Why do they want it also? It just seems like everything is just moving quickly instead of slowing down. So I just would love to have your framework around that.
In addition to everything moving more quickly, there's also more channels for us to tell our stories on. In the pandemic, if you think about, TikTok became everyone's go-to social media platform. And now brands have to figure out, how do I talk about my product on TikTok? And so it's a real challenge for companies to say, how am I going to keep up on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok? Let's add Snapchat, everything else to the mix. It's a lot to ask. And what we have to really try to center as brands is, how are we going to be most effective in both spending our dollars, right, on these different platforms, but also telling our story in a way that feels it's authentic to what our product's going to deliver. And a story that I love to tell is, I mentioned in my previous entrepreneurial life, I was making ads for Facebook, and I saw the inner workings of how they thought about content creation. And it was just as much about volume as it was about the topics or the content itself. And so much of that treadmill mentality comes from the fact that Facebook and Instagram prioritize brands that post a lot. The more you post, the more they prioritize your content. And that puts small brands at a disadvantage. So how do we challenge that? How do we create a pathway for small brands to be effective? Well, one, we've got to make the content more affordable, and that's what Suna is really unlocking. But two, we've got to help them understand what to make. Expecting these small brands, 1 and 2 person shops, to come up with great ideas every single week is just crazy. And so we want to be that partner, like you said before, that really delivers new ideas, fresh seasonality, but also helps the content really come back to selling more products. If you sell more products, your business will grow. If your business grows, the likelihood you can really keep up with that treadmill is going to improve. And so we really want to encourage people not to feel overwhelmed by it, but instead see an invitation for, how can we consistently and routinely tell our story through content that we don't have to create. We can partner with a company like Suna to continually keep it fresh and keep it going.
I have a separate question here that I'm thinking about production in general, because I feel the brands that I speak with, they definitely see the benefits in wanting to create more content. Part of it, I believe, is just the internet's noisy a little bit, and it requires you to get that attention of your buyers, your customers, then producing content and being on these channels, like you said, and understanding the nuances of all these channels, because it's definitely not taking the same piece of content and just repurposing it exactly in the same channel. Sometimes there's some very uniqueness of the target audience and what the people that are on those channels, what they demand for content on those channels. And so, do you believe that the content production in general, is this truly a critical framework for Shopify brands?
Oh, absolutely. There are amazing tools out there that make it easier for brands to maximize the content we're creating. And so if you think about, let's start with getting a foundation underneath your business. And when we talk about a content foundation, we're talking about product images that are really high quality, some seasonal images that you can move in between, and then what I like to call full brand or collection images. And these are images that are often your lifestyle images of a customer maybe using the product or a model using the product. It's oftentimes something where your product is put in context. So if you think about maybe you sell a food product, so you show the product in the kitchen, or maybe you sell a bath product, and so you show the product in a bathroom. Once you've created that foundation of images, now you have a playground that you can really play with, and you can go out into the world and use them in different ways and never be afraid to use the same piece of content twice. There isn't a rule against this. I see this so often with so many brands, but your foundation is actually to be used over and over and over again, to be leveraged repeatedly so that you have the ability to, in an ongoing way, remind customers of your content. And then don't be afraid to use the tools and apps out there that allow you to maximize the storytelling capability. Combining two images into a stitched image on a product like Canva is a really great way to say, hey, here's a combination of two items you might want to add to cart. Or, adding a simple image to Instagram stories, but using the GIF features or the sound features to make it new and make it fresh. It isn't always about new content every single day. While we love new content and it's fun, you do just need to be thinking about, what is my foundation? Do I have a source of materials that I can draw upon in new and interesting ways in an ongoing manner? And once you've built that up, I think you'll find that promoting the content in a regular fashion becomes a lot easier. It's when we're in a scramble mindset of, oh no, I don't have any products, any pictures of this product in a kitchen, or oh my gosh, I don't have an example of a customer using this product, that we end up in these sort of stuck moments and where social media doesn't serve us as much.
What's interesting is there are all different types of entrepreneurs that are listening today. And I'm thinking about, let's say, people in CPG or in the food business, or, what they would like to have maybe a kitchen in their backdrop. Or what about people in fashion where they kind of want to be on the street, outside of a studio environment? And so I'm wondering, does Suna think about that sort of environment, maybe outside of the studio? And do you, in fact, have access to, a high quality, kind of visually compelling kitchen owned by whom? I have no idea. If you go to Airbnb and rent it, I'm just so curious as to I understand the talent that goes along, the production people, lighting and the camera equipment and video equipment and all that. I think that part you've got to completely dialed, but it's the location part that I think really adds that extra little piece of punch.
One of the things that my co-founder and I really emphasized early when we started this company is we wanted to build our own production playground. And so actually our warehouses have 3 different styles of kitchens in them. We have a bathroom set. We have multiple living room sets. We have a couple office sets. And so we actually built our warehouses to support a variety of environments, because we actually knew that one of the highest cost centers for creating these lifestyle images that are so popular on social media and so popular in the banner images of your home pages, those rentals of those locations are high. There's a high cost to that. And so we've actually built those to be able to support that for the customer. You can actually go online and see what our kitchens look like. And in addition to that, we actually built our first outdoor area in our warehouse in Austin, Texas. And so we've been doing really interesting environmental shots in that location as well, to help give our customers even more diversity of content types and background types. And that's why a brand like Suna has been so powerful, I think, for these small and medium-sized businesses, or even just those people who are getting started for the first time, is you're unlocking this multi-$1,000 expense for simply $39 an image. And we're sharing that expense across our thousands of customers to make it so much easier for your brand to access. We take that mission statement of quality content for all very seriously. So whether you're just getting started or you've been at this for a decade, you're going to have access to those things. It's the same process and it's the same product for each one of those brands.
So Liz, as you know, this show has a very diverse range of entrepreneurs that listen each week. And I believe you're in an interesting vantage point because you have so many brands that are using your platform to, help produce this content. And so are there any trends or any advice and things that you would give to store owners today that are eager to grow and scale?
Whether or not you're going to use Suna, these trends are completely performing for brands, whether they're creating the content on their own or working with a photographer that they already have a relationship with. We're seeing a couple key things, especially as we go into holiday this year. The first is avoiding images that don't have a person for scale. So if you think about a cosmetics product, always including a hand or at least a wrist and a hand to show how big in context of a human hand is this product. If you're selling footwear, socks, shoes, always including a shot with the foot in the shoe. So often we see these rendered images of just the shoe online, but actually a lot of research is showing us and a lot of data is showing us that by adding the foot, we actually can see exactly where does that hit on the ankle, exactly where does that hit in the arch of my own foot. And giving the customer that context is delivering much higher conversion for brands across a variety of types of categories. The second key trend is using at least one pop of color somewhere in your product images. So often we've been defaulting to the product on white images. It's been an industry standard for a very long time. But having that first image on a product listing page or maybe in a featured gallery on your homepage, including product on color, especially a brand color, something that communicates the brand's ideas, that's creating lift as much as 20% for certain products. And so we want to see companies embracing more color in that background to be really effective. And then finally, movement, adding a simple product video or a simple product GIF that shows a product in action. You can imagine if you sell a product like a home game or a toy or even a pet product and seeing how does it move? How will that ball roll? How will it actually come to life when it's in my home or in my possession? That's delivering as much as a 30% lift for brands. And so bring in that movement, especially if it's relevant to your product.
Wow, this is awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that, because I think that's important. It's not necessarily just about using your platform. It's a great scalable option, but depending on where you are listening today in your entrepreneurial journey, you obviously see the value in having great engaging content, and your platform can do it. They can do it on their own. They can DIY it to start, but you're always there to help them, and the proactiveness moving forward, seasonal and different kind of events, I think is just fantastic. And so I just wanted to thank you for sharing your platform and, giving these insights and stuff like that. I think it's really interesting about how brands can differentiate themselves. So are you able to maybe talk a little bit about the future for the Suna product? Like, your North Star, I guess, or the remainder of 21, just partner alignment or innovation. Just end of the day, I guess, nice to be warm and fuzzy about, how are you going to continue, I guess, to offer value and assistance for brands that really do want to create more content?
There are a lot of exciting things coming up for the Suna Shopify app. So downloading it now is a really good decision. We have some new video trend sets that are going to be coming out this summer that will definitely tie back to that recommendation of bringing movement in. But we all know that we're always thinking about Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and how different product companies can stand out. And so each fall, we do a massive push on what we think is going to be the big conversion content toolbox that brands can create. And so we'll be releasing a toolbox this fall that gives you that sneak peek into what can you do differently this year that might help you sell even more in your store. And then the other exciting thing that we're excited about is we are looking forward to creating even more types of content that brands can bring into their ecosystem. So if you've never, for example, decided to try GIFs in your platform, we're bringing that to the Shopify app. If you've never thought about maybe having customizable content, you can imagine, for example, checking the geography of where a customer is and delivering tightly targeted emails. We're going to help you start thinking about how can you make that content part of your targeting emphasis as well. And so good things coming to really customize the customer content experience, but also deliver on just what is it exactly that's going to make them convert for you and your product.
So Liz, we are nearing the end of the show for today. Do you have any takeaways that you would like to leave with our listeners or any action items?
Well, we'd absolutely love if each of them would try the Suna app. You can just search SOONA on the App Store. And we have a giveaway. We have a freebie for your listeners. If your listeners download the app and then use the promotion code FASTLANE when they book, they will get their first photo free, and we'll also add one video or gift credit to their account so they can try that movement recommendation in action.
Love it. Thank you so much for offering that. I think it's a great opportunity. Like if those that have got to the end of the show now, if you see the value of what Liz is saying, that, there's important to have high quality, engaging content. If you've outgrown the DIY part of your business and you really do have product market fit and you want to get involved and align yourself with a company that really is forward thinking on how do we scale and offer high quality content that both you as the brand need, but also as the end consumer is demanding. And that's differentiating yourself, making your content engaging, thinking of the multi-channel side of it. I think it's a great platform. I just wanted to thank you so much much for, this offer. Thanks for coming on the show, sharing your knowledge and your vision, and really just at the end of the day, just giving back to the Shopify ecosystem.
It was my pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for giving me a chance to share what we are seeing as the successful secrets for content online.
All right, well, have yourself a great afternoon. Today's episode is brought to you by Vicely, a flexible personalization and search solution for your Shopify business. Hundreds of Shopify brands use Vicely to grow their businesses, convert store visitors into happy, loyal customers with highly relevant product touchpoints throughout the customer's initial and repeat journeys. With seamless Shopify integration, one-to-one personalization, A/B testing, over 20 pre-built and custom widgets, predictive search, dynamic filters, merchandising, literally everything you need, best-in-class support, it does it all. Vicely is the perfect solution for efficient e-commerce teams that are focusing on growing the business and not their workload. So start today and find out how Vicely can help accelerate the growth of your Shopify business. Visit Vicely.io or search for Vicely in the Shopify App Store to begin your 14-day free trial. No credit card required. Well, that's it for today's episode. I'd like to thank you personally for being a loyal listener of Ecommerce Fastlane. It's my hope that this podcast is offering you a ton of value through growth strategies, tactics, and exclusive insider tips on the best Shopify apps and marketing platforms, all with my personal goal to help you build, manage, grow, and scale a successful and thriving company powered by Shopify. Thanks for investing some time today and listening to the show. I'm so proud and excited that you have a growth mindset and are a constant learner. I truly appreciate you and your entrepreneurial journey. Enjoy the rest of the week and keep thriving with Shopify.